Time now for the CJHL Report. 115 teams and 9 Junior A leagues began the season with hopes of winning a national championship title. And now only 10 teams remain, with the Centennial Cup getting underway this weekend. For much more on that, now joining us is CJHL President Brent Ladds. Brent, welcome to the show. Great to have you with us again, my friend. How exciting is it that we're back getting set to crown a national champion?
Well, greetings from Estevan, Saskatchewan, a lovely little community that has done so much in the last 3 months to double their initial commitment and bring in bring in 10 Junior A teams to play in the national championship. And to your point, Gino, it's been very important. It is very important to us. If we hadn't undertaken to do something, we would have gone 3 years in a row without a national championship. And Hockey Canada, the staff assigned to this project, the host committee, and all of our commissioners around our table and the teams and that have just done a tremendous amount of work to make sure that this happens. So we got our fingers crossed, and hopefully by Saturday when we air this, we're well underway.
Let's back up just a bit now, because you kind of mentioned the fact that there's, we both talked about the fact there's 10 teams. This is not your usual format. This is a format that you guys introduced this year to compensate for where we were because of the pandemic's inability to crown the regional champions that we've had in the past. How did you guys go about making this decision that this was the format you were going to use this year?
Well, it became evident that we had to do something when we got to the beginning of February, and our Eastern leagues were still in a state of pause, almost going back to Christmas. The governors and owners in those leagues were hoping to get some type of a meaningful season in, which would have eliminated time that we would normally allot for regional championships. And we said, how do we make this work? The first source of concern was going to the host committee, Estevan, and saying, look, this might sound right off the wall, but instead of hosting 5 teams, can you host 10? And we weren't sure what the answer would be, but they came back in about a week's time overwhelmingly said, yes, we've looked at all the infrastructure, we can do it. And then we had to sort of make sure that we sat down, analyzed the finances, and with some extra support from Hockey Canada and ourselves, hopefully we're going to have a very, very successful national championship. And to the point that if this works, we may be able to do it in the future, because it's really a benefit if every league can get their champion to a national championship.
Let's talk about that. How much have you actually discussed this? Because I mean, before, just to clarify, what happens is you get a league champion, and then the league champions go to regionals, and then you're sending basically a team representing a region, not necessarily a specific league. Now, though, you've got all the leagues represented. What are the upsides of continuing in a format like this?
Well, I think the upside, first of all, is the immediate impact on each of the leagues. So there are leagues traditionally that don't get to the national championship.
Right.
It provides everybody with that opportunity. And going down to the grassroots level, it has to help with recruiting and that for players and that, and bringing some of the leagues that maybe weren't perceived within the hockey community to be on a par basis with others to that level. The second part of it that I think is really important is that as we go into regional championships, play those, determine a representative, and leave those to head to the national championships, there's parts of the country that are left out of that, and so interest dies. This next 2 weeks, we should have national interest in this event leading almost right up to the final weekend, and with the final game being covered by TSN.
That's amazing, and it is a made-for-TV format. Now, that's exciting news, and it's very big news, but here's another big news story that broke earlier this week coming out of your league. By the way, we're in conversation with CJHL President Brent Ladds. Last week, the story made headlines that the Aurora Tigers hired Sierra Costa as the first female general manager in CJHL history. Talk to me about this, about Sierra herself, and how significant an impact this is on your league and the game in general.
I can only talk to Sierra in terms of what I've read, because I don't know her personally. But I think it's impactful. I think at a time when we're advocating changes in our approach relative to diversity and interest, and working with an NHL Coaches Association, who are also asking us to post opportunities with them so that they can circulate them and maybe open the market up for coaching and managerial positions
Right.
that normally wouldn't be available or maybe not even accessible by minorities in that. That the hiring in Aurora was, I think, news we didn't anticipate it. It's we learned of it at the same time I think most people did, and I just want to wish Aurora and all the luck with the choice that they've made. I think it's great.
And as she comes into the league, you've got a gentleman who's been around this league forever, Bill Chow. After 11 years, he's stepping down as a commissioner of the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. He's been a huge part of the CJHL, really regionally and nationally as well. Give us some thoughts on his retirement as he leaves the league.
Well, we're going to commemorate Bill before we leave here, since we're in his backyard. Would be really remiss if we didn't do that. And yeah, Bill's been a great contributor to the CJHL and the Saskatchewan Junior League. He filled some pretty big shoes when he took over that position initially. His background in policing as a former policeman in the Prince Albert Police Force, had brought a lot of acronym, and I think it served him well. We went through the Humboldt crisis, tragedy, if I can call it that, and Bill's a hockey man. He's not just a junior A guy. He's a hockey guy. He's done extensive work with the WHL in terms of scouting and team preparations and that. So his love for the game, I think, translates into everything he does with us. And pretty solid guy. So we're losing a solid guy. Sad day.
It is a sad day for the league, but happy for him, though, that he gets to go on to other challenges. As the Stanley Cup playoffs continue, we're watching Cale Makar and the stuff he's doing. He's a grad through the CJHL. And last week we had NHL Central Scouting Director Dan Marr on the show to talk about Central Scouting's final draft rankings as we go into this draft this July in Montreal. There were 11 CJHL players on the list, including a kid at 17th overall. The leaps and bounds this league has made in terms of credibility on the international stage in the NHL. To what do you attribute the fact that so much great young talent is coming out of the CJHL right now and earning the respect and attention from NHL franchises?
Well, I think some of that, maybe it's a multi-pronged sword. Some of it is attributable to the players themselves, obviously, and they've chosen routes that are not traditional routes to try and get to the National Hockey League and be that the CJHL, USHL. They end up in the NCAA, and the NCAA is graduating more players into the NHL now than we've seen in the past.
Yeah.
Coupled with that, the players that have gone into those, have been drafted and gone into those teams, and we use Colorado as an example. They have, three pretty bona fide good CJHL alumni on their team, and Tyson Jost and Alex Newhook and, of course, Cale Makar. And they've lived up to their initial billing. I think the extension of that is when you look at a guy like Dan Marr, who's put a lot of faith in our program and maybe defied some of the traditional approaches and said, there's players there and we have to get to them. And he and his Central Scouting fraternity spend an extensive amount of time, and through the National Hockey League, support some special events for us that help get those players to the forefront. Now, the last couple of years, we haven't been able to do it, but looking forward to next year, we're going to get there. But, to Dan's credit, he hasn't lost faith, and those players are still being ranked and they're still there. And I think 11 is great. I'm looking forward to when we have 22.
Yeah. Excellent point. Brent, great chatting with you, buddy. Great. Congratulations on another great year, and excited to look forward to nationals this year. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it too, Gino, and I would, personally like to thank you and all the staff there, Colin and Adam, for all the work you do and all the support we get. We really appreciate it.
It's a lot of fun. That was CJHL President Brent Ladds. And that wraps up our final CJHL report of the season. The Canadian Junior Hockey League. Your future is here.